Imagine being one of the most recognizable faces in the world, someone who's had cameras trailing them for decades, whose every move gets analyzed, picked apart, and broadcast across millions of screens. Now imagine carrying a secret so personal, so private, that no one, not the tabloids, not the fans, not even those closest to you, ever discovered it. That's exactly what Johnny Depp has managed to do. For nearly 10 years, he quietly held on to something so deeply emotional that when he finally revealed it, just a minute ago, during a recent interview, it left fans stunned, not by scandal or controversy this time, but by the raw, human vulnerability behind it. Hey, it's good to have you here. And if you've ever wondered whether stars like Johnny Depp really feel the same things we do, whether they truly grieve, struggle, and heal the way everyday people do, then this story is going to speak to you. Because what Johnny just shared isn't some polished soundbite or a rehearsed PR move. It's real. It's painful. And it's unexpectedly beautiful. This moment happened during what was meant to be a casual, arts-focused interview while Johnny was in France. For those who haven't followed his journey in recent years, he's been living a quieter life abroad, far from the Hollywood limelight. He's been focusing more on his music, his painting, and his close inner circle. That's what made the interview feel different from the start, less of a press junket and more like a conversation between two people, one of whom just happened to be one of the most famous actors in the world. As the talk veered toward his artwork, Johnny brought up one particular painting he had recently finished. He called it Mom's Hands. Now, at first glance, the painting might look simple. It features a pair of worn, elderly hands gently cupping a folded letter. The kind of image that speaks of time, tenderness, and memory. But then Johnny shared the story behind it. And that's when things took an unexpected turn. Because he revealed that every year since his mother, Betty Sue Palmer, passed away in 2016, he's been writing her a letter. Not just thinking about her, not just lighting a candle or raising a glass in her honor, but actually writing. Longhand. On paper. A full letter, every single year, on her birthday. And the most surprising part? No one knew. Not his inner circle. Not his fans. Not even, as he put it, the people he's closest to in the world. He never did it for show. There was no social media post, no grand gesture. It was his quiet ritual, something sacred, something just for him. He said, and I quote, "It's the only kind of therapy that ever felt real." Think about that for a second. Here's a man who's been through just about every form of public and private turmoil imaginable, court cases, addiction battles, betrayals in the press, failed relationships, and what brought him peace wasn't a therapist's office or a mindfulness app. It was the act of writing to the one person who he felt truly understood him, even from beyond the grave. That says a lot about grief. And it says even more about love. He also mentioned that he never planned to talk about it. In fact, he hesitated even as he brought it up, almost catching himself mid-sentence. He laughed softly and said, "The world doesn't need another celebrity sob story." And yet, in sharing it, he reminded us that some wounds never fully heal, and that's okay. Healing isn't always about getting over it. Sometimes, it's about carrying the memory with you in a way that feels right. When asked what the letters said, Johnny smiled and shook his head. "That's between me and her," he said. But he did offer a glimpse, recounting one letter that opened with, "Remember that time I ran away from school and you covered for me?" The interviewer laughed, but Johnny's expression softened. "She wasn't perfect, and neither was I. But she got me, you know. She understood the chaos in my head." That one sentence probably did more to humanize Johnny Depp than years of public image rebuilding ever could. This story touches something that many of us have felt, especially those who have lost someone close. That longing to say one more thing, to share one more memory, to just feel that connection again. And that's where Johnny's ritual becomes something more than a personal habit, it becomes a quiet blueprint for how to carry on. Writing letters to lost loved ones isn't a new concept. In fact, psychologists and grief counselors have long recommended it as a therapeutic tool. It's part of what they call continuing bonds theory, the idea that instead of severing our ties to the dead, we find ways to keep the connection alive. Dr. Emily Stein, a respected grief therapist, once said, "Writing letters to someone we've lost allows us to engage with our grief in a safe, meaningful way. It's not about pretending they're still here. It's about acknowledging that our love doesn't disappear just because they're gone." And the beauty of this practice? Anyone can do it. You don't need fancy stationery or profound words. All you need is a pen, some paper, and the courage to be honest. You can write about anything, the things you miss, the regrets you carry, the joys you remember. There's no right or wrong. Some people burn the letters after writing them. Some keep them tucked away. Some even read them aloud. Johnny, as far as we know, keeps his in a weathered box, along with old photos and a few of his mother's belongings. What's particularly moving is how this quiet act of grief contrasts with the noise of celebrity culture. In a world where we expect stars to process everything in the spotlight, to go on talk shows, release statements, give interviews, it's powerful to know that someone as high-profile as Johnny Depp found comfort in something so small and so private. No cameras. No validation. Just him and his mother's memory. There's something else worth pointing out too. Johnny didn't share this story to make himself look good. In fact, he seemed almost uncomfortable as he spoke about it, as if he worried people might misunderstand. But that vulnerability, that willingness to be real even in a world that rewards masks, that's what made the moment unforgettable. He wasn't promoting a movie. He wasn't trying to spin a headline. He was just a son missing his mom. And that makes him, for a fleeting moment, just like the rest of us. As fans, we often forget that the people we admire are human first. We see their characters, their roles, their interviews, but we rarely see their inner world. This story, this quiet confession, gave us that glimpse. And it resonated because so many of us are walking around with our own letters unwritten, our own words unspoken. Maybe Johnny's story is the nudge we need to pick up the pen. And here's the thing, it's never too late. Whether your loved one passed away last week or 10 years ago, the act of writing can still bring healing. It's about presence, not time. It's about honoring your feelings, not silencing them. Some people even write letters to versions of themselves, their younger selves, their future selves, as a way to process pain and celebrate growth. The timing of Johnny's revelation also feels deeply symbolic, almost as though it marks the beginning of a new chapter, one shaped not by drama or controversy, but by healing and quiet self-discovery. For years, he's been under a relentless spotlight, with his personal life dissected and debated in a way that most people couldn't even begin to comprehend. The trials, the headlines, the speculation, it all painted a picture of a man constantly on the defensive. But now, after enduring a media storm that few could have weathered with their sanity intact, Johnny Depp seems to be reclaiming something more essential than reputation. He's reclaiming peace. And perhaps more importantly, he's doing it on his own terms. What stands out isn't just what he shared, but how he chose to share it. There was no official statement. No dramatic post on social media. No calculated rollout through a publicist. This wasn't part of a press tour or promotional strategy. It was an unscripted moment, something gently unearthed during a meandering conversation about his paintings. And that, in itself, is telling. It suggests that this was never meant to be a performance. This was a window into something raw and sacred, something he's carried privately for years. There's a quiet bravery in that. Because in a world that rewards sensationalism and spectacle, there's still something revolutionary about vulnerability. Especially from someone who spent decades being a symbol of cool detachment and rebellious mystique. Johnny Depp, the actor known for playing offbeat, elusive characters, offered something real. Something as simple and honest as the image of a man writing a letter to his late mother each year. No cameras. No applause. Just ink on paper, a silent ritual of remembrance that few, if any, ever knew about. And there's a weight to that image. Imagine him sitting alone, perhaps in the French countryside where he now spends much of his time, surrounded by the quiet hush of a world far removed from Hollywood. The light is low, maybe a single lamp flickering beside him. A cup of tea or glass of wine at his side. A pen in hand. And in front of him, a blank sheet of paper, one that will soon hold a conversation with someone who is no longer physically present, but emotionally ever close. That space, that moment, it becomes a sanctuary. Not a stage. Not a platform. Just a space where grief meets love, and memory finds shape. That's what makes his story so relatable. Strip away the fame, the fortune, the fame-induced isolation, and what you have is a man mourning his mother in the most human way possible, by continuing the dialogue. By keeping her close through words she will never read, but that he needs to write. It's a form of connection that transcends time and loss. And it's one that so many people, regardless of background, can understand. We've all lost someone. We've all had words we wish we could say again. What's also profound is how this act, something so deeply personal, never once seemed intended for public consumption. That's rare in a world where private moments are so often curated for likes and views. Johnny's letter writing wasn't about catharsis for the audience. It was about a personal reckoning. A way to stay grounded amidst chaos. To return to something real when the world felt surreal. And maybe that's why it resonates so much now. Because we live in a time where authenticity feels rare. Where public figures are often more brand than person. And yet here is someone reminding us that healing isn't about perfection or publicity, it's about presence. About being with your own feelings, your own grief, without trying to edit or perform them. This revelation, then, isn't just about Johnny Depp. It's about the universal truth that healing often happens in silence. It doesn't come with fanfare. It comes with stillness. With the quiet scratch of a pen on paper, the flicker of a memory, the ache that settles into something tender with time. And if there's any lesson in what he shared, it's that we don't need to rush our grief. We don't need to package it neatly. Sometimes, the most powerful things we do to heal are the ones no one else sees. And perhaps that's what makes this moment so moving. Not just because a celebrity revealed a secret, but because, in doing so, he reminded us of something essential, that even in our most isolated moments of sorrow, we are not alone. There is something deeply connective about grief, something that links us across time, culture, and experience. And in that shared vulnerability, maybe we find the beginning of peace. Not all at once. But letter by letter. Memory by memory. Until one day, the ache softens, and what remains is love. Quiet. Enduring. Unseen, but always there. So here's my invitation to you. If there's someone you've lost, whether it's a parent, a sibling, a partner, or even a friend, take a moment today. Grab a piece of paper. Start writing. Don't overthink it. Don't edit. Just write what you feel. Tell them what you miss. Tell them what you've accomplished. Tell them what still hurts. Let it pour out. You might be surprised by how freeing it is. And if you're comfortable, share a piece of your letter in the comments. You never know who might need to hear it. You never know who else is silently grieving right alongside you. And maybe, just maybe, your words will offer them comfort too. If Johnny Depp's story moved you the way it moved us, you might also find a strange sense of comfort in hearing how other celebrities have coped with grief. Our next video dives into Keanu Reeves's journey, how he's managed to live with loss in almost complete silence, and what that says about strength, resilience, and the quiet power of empathy. Before you go, if this video gave you something to think about, something to feel, go ahead and give it a like. It helps more than you know. And if you want to stick around for more stories that go beyond the headlines, consider subscribing. This channel is all about pulling back the curtain and reminding each other that, at the end of the day, fame fades, but the heart remains. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And remember, healing doesn't always look loud. Sometimes, it looks like ink on paper. Sometimes, it looks like a folded letter. And sometimes, it looks like a son still loving his mom, even from a world away.